All right, well, The Inner Light. This is one of those one off episodes that the basic premise of it is a really cool idea for a short story or a novel. Trying to run this in a TTRPG could be done. However, you're literally taking your team out of the current day setting and putting them in something different that is no more real to them from an in-universe perspective than a hollow novel. Because yes, what you are doing is reliving actual events from an in-universe perspective, but so a hollow novel could be real events too. This is just a different way of recording those events and recreating them. Because, yeah, the entire point of The Inner Light is Picard sees the world through the eyes of a different man. That is literally the bulk of the episode. Picard gets to see what life was like on the planet Kataan. Now, one of the things about this episode that I personally found to be highly questionable as a plot device. See, it begins with them doing something simple, a magnetic wave survey of the Parvenium system. And they find some strange object that they don't know what is. Oh, it's a space probe that then sends a low-level nucleonic beam targeted directly at Captain Jean-Luc Picard. And then Picard passes out. Dun dun dun. Yeah, anyway, like I said, it's Picard living out the life of someone who was on Kataan before Kataan was destroyed by some stellar event. Now, on the Enterprise, the crew has gotten to the work of figuring out what the alien probe is, what it's doing, and making it stop doing it. Because why would they want it to not stop? Now, this is an interesting thing, is because the fact that this is one of those situations where the crew of the USS Enterprise is doing survey in what is ostensibly unclaimed territory on the edges of Federation space, and the Kataan star system is outside the mapped area that the crew of the Enterprise has on board their ship. They don't know who is living in the Kataan star system or why they sent out a probe. Oh yeah, that they do actually apparently have some information about it though. They know that the star went nova 1,000 years ago. How exactly did I know that? Oh, right. This is one of those things where you have stellar cartography from a long range, because a nova is something that in real life we can see from, multiple light years away. So the Federation presumably also has that ability. They know the star went nova and have that as a reason to believe that it doesn't have any habitable planets in it. And it's currently unmapped, presumably because the fact that people are like, don't have any good reason to go there, probably doesn't have anything worth looking at. Hey, whatever. And the people of Kataan do the Superman thing, where they know their civilization is doomed, and all of the people on their planet are doomed. So they decide to jettison a piece of their world into the void on a space probe that, because it's not flying at warp speed, takes 1,000 years to get to another solar system. But hey, it did actually survive, so, that's something. Now, one thing about this that's very, very strange to me, something I find to personally be highly questionable, is the logic of how this race has this level of complicated memory copying technology. This sounds like a technology that the Federation would be acutely interested in because of the fact that, well, there are actually races in the Federation that already do things like this, like psychohistorical archives. There are people in the Federation who try to do the concept of a psychohistorical archive, where they make copies of people's memories and use those copies of memories like you would books in a library. And this technology from Kataan would seemingly fit very nicely in that, because the key aspect of this is that it's an efficient method of encoding that information into a form that can be stored in a computer system. And they demonstrated that with this space probe. Gotta say, this is one of those things where the implications of the weird alien technology of the week are kind of strange. See, um, the probe, though, because of the fact that it's 1,000 years old and, probably barely worked in the first place, it has just enough power to transmit the encoded memories into Picard's mind, and then it shuts down forever because, that was all it was ever designed to do. Now, that is actually so something that's kind of interesting, though, is that they do actually have a few things in there, and Picard actually keeps this flute. Yeah, the flute that Riker gives Picard out of the box is something that Picard keeps, and you later see in the TNG movies as one of his most prized possessions, because it's literally a flute that's over 1,000 years old from a civilization that no longer exists, a one-of-a-kind relic of a world that is gone. I mean, let's face it, and he personally knows how to play it because he lived out the life of a man who was the former owner. Oh boy, Russican flute. Yeah, that's one heck of a keepsake. Now, the Russian civilization in general doesn't actually seem to be all that interesting. The way they're portrayed in the episode makes them look like the typical TNG approach of near humans that may or may not have some tiny minor difference from actual humans, but are, it's the cheap approach of you have actors in costumes. Makeup, nah. The actual costumes they came up with for the people are actually highly diverse. It's like they aren't even necessarily the same style of clothing for different individuals, which is a nice touch because people tend to do the Planet of Hats thing where everyone dresses the same, and that's don't like that. I do have to wonder about this style of greeble attached to the wall. If you look closely, you realize that it's actually a molded shape that someone probably molded with clay on the wall, and used that mold to create a shape in a repeating pattern. And the in-universe logic for it is seemingly non-existent. They don't try to explain any of the decorative aspects of this because it focuses on the whole living out the life of someone else. Now, one note about this that makes it more than just a holo novel for the purposes of an adventure. The people who are not having the experience reliving memories are trying to figure out what the probe is and why Picard is unconscious. And, that is something that is what you could have the people who aren't, the focus of the adventure doing is, cleaning up to make sure that things don't go horribly wrong. I have to say, though, this kind of technology for recording and replaying memories is something that I suspect that a lot of scientists in and out of the Federation would have intense interest in. Because, well, let's face it, if you can record someone else's memories against their will and then replay them in a different individual, that would be an incredible tool for intelligence operations. You literally get to live in another person's shoes for maybe only a day, but you get to literally see, feel, think everything this other person did. Because that was actually one of the interesting things with Picard is that while Picard is able to, try to do things while he's in that state, one aspect of this is that because of the fact that he has the memories of the person whose life was recorded, he also remembers what this person wanted to do. So he remembers that this person is like, ah, yes, it's time to go eat coffee and uh, get ready to have my daily morning sun ritual. And Picard knows what all of those things are and can simply just act them out because that's what he remembers having done. That is one aspect that is very different from a holo novel because a holo novel doesn't point you in the direction that the person whose memory was recorded wants to go. And yeah, again, that's one of those things where the technology is something that is very interesting. It's like it's not the sort of thing that's completely unknown to civilizations in Star Trek. It's just a little bit different. Just different enough that it's noteworthy and worth paying attention to, shall we say. That's about it. Because, like, this is ultimately something that in universe didn't go anywhere. It was a one-off that, while it has a nice touchstone in the fact that you see Picard in later episodes with that flute, there's no other payoff in the grand scheme of things. Picard had a fun adventure and no one else did. But honestly, though, is like having your crew figure out how to salvage the technology in the probe would actually be hilarious. I do, however, have one thing to ponder here, though. This means that the crew of the Enterprise has the ability to find the facility on Kataan where the memories were encoded that were uploaded into that probe and jettisoned into space. Could they find the ability to recreate the memory recording technology? This is something that I would actually expect a party in a TTRPG to do. It's like, ooh, cool technology. Do I think that all parties would do that? No. Some of them would. So if I was to use this in a plot, I would expect players to try something like that and prepare accordingly. Now, prepare accordingly does not mean that I'm going to be waiting to tell them no. This is one of those things where it's just like it just logically makes sense. Although, one of the things is that you could throw at them a skill check that they can only pass with a natural 20, and then if they fail, it's like, that's unfortunate. Guess we'll have to hand this off to the Federation Science Council and see if they can do something with it in a few years' time. Because let's face it, realistically, looking at it for 5 minutes is probably not going to be good enough to fully understand an alien technology in good enough detail to be able to use it, especially if it's broken because it's over 1,000 years old and left laying in a puddle of mud. But at any rate, I believe that's enough in this one. Gotta say, the memory recording technology in this is the cool part of the episode. The whole thing of reliving the past fun plot device, but doesn't really go anywhere. The um, fact that they need to figure out how to get Picard out of the trance state that the probe put him in before he dies is also something that is a source of drama, something that is an obstacle that the players would need to overcome. And then, of course, having them steal the probe and figure out how to use it for their own devices would probably come shortly after that. But whatever. At any rate, I think that's all for this one. See you guys next time.